We are just 7 days away. Gervonta Tank Davis, Frank the Ghost Martin. It goes down. Film study. Let's get into it. This is your boy JG. This is the Punch Report. Let's go. Welcome back to the channel. Come in, like, subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified when the latest and greatest drops. Let's just get into it. So I'm going to try to drop a video every single day on this fight from a film study perspective. In this video, we're going to focus solely on Frank Martin and what I believe to be his secret weapon. And at the end of the video, I'll tell you why it might be difficult to get this off against Gervonta Tank Davis. Before I get into that, go to the comment section right now. Let me know what your predictions are. You rocking with Tank Davis or Frank Martin? Now, Frank Martin is a fighter who I have a tough time finding anything to be overtly critical about. I mean, all fighters make mistakes and they have things that they need to clean up here or there, but from a technical proficiency standpoint, Frank Martin's pretty damn good. He has speed, he has power, he has athleticism, he has creativity within the ring. There's not a lot that he can't do. In this video, I'm going to just kind of talk about his secret weapon that he deploys. And it's shocking that a lot of the fighters, despite their skill sets and abilities themselves, can't seem to get this thing figured out. And what that's going to be for Frank Martin is that fade, pull, counter, left hand would be my counter right hand. Frank Martin is a lefty. Let's take a look at Jackson Morenas here. Or excuse me, let's take a look at Michel Rivera here. And when you take a look at, we're going to look at 3 clips of Michel Rivera. When you take a look at this, you'll see him setting this up early in the fight. He takes the step back, the fade. But one of the things that Frank Martin does so well, he doesn't fade straight back. He gets just on a slight angle that gives him 2 opportunities to do something. Get power off, land cleanly, and then make it very difficult for you to return fire. Speaking of which, if you take a look at this clip here with Frank Martin, this is what it looks like if you move straight back on the fade on a straight line. Michel Rivera is able to connect with a nice clean right hand. That's what it looks like when the fade is just not off that angle. You stay on that center line. You provide an opportunity for your opposition to come in and land something clean. And finally, if you take a look here, this is the first knockdown, I think the only knockdown of this fight, Michel Rivera. And this spells pretty much the end of this fight. This was a great fight for Frank Martin, honestly. Going back and re-looking at the tape, he absolutely dominated Michel Rivera. Michel Rivera, big guy, strong, definitely durable, too slow. Boxing IQ wasn't quite there. Didn't have the foot speed to keep up with Frank Martin. Frank Martin pretty much did whatever he wanted. But that's just a first example of what it looks like when he executes that fade, adding the slight angle, getting off the left hand, and then putting himself in a position to not have to take damage. Now let's move over to Jackson Morenas. It's going to be a lot of the same. Quick fade, counter, get to the angle, reset your process. Take a look at it here again. This is a different clip, same fight. You're going to see the fade, quick counter. Frank Martin does this all night. And the great thing about this fight, the Jackson Morenas fight, it wasn't really fully developed in his tool bag, but you could see where it was coming from. And if you move over to the Michel Rivera fight that we just reviewed, it's fully adopted, right? And then if you take a look here, this is Artem Hartunyan. Very early in the fight, he's able to get this off, cracking with a nice counter left hand. Now the thing of it is, this was a strange fight for Frank Martin. If you go back and take a look at it, round 6, he kind of gets it figured out. Derek James and hey, we need more work, more offense, more of what you do well. Gets a knockdown, gets the victory. And then one more clip here. This is Romero Duno, who he drops and then eventually stops. But you'll see him fade, counter left hand, and the rest is history. Now, this is just one of the many things that he does well, but he seems to set up and score a lot of knockdowns or cause confusion or damage to his opposition utilizing this boxing technique. One of the things that concerns me, if we switch gears for just a moment, when it comes to Frank Martin, defensively, he's extremely sound, great hand exchange, good hand discipline. He doesn't really go straight away from home. He catches and parries very well. I believe that he has a problem with the belief of his ability to defend with the arms, because you don't typically see a lot of head movement, so to speak, and he will keep his feet at home while defending with his hands, leaving him susceptible to body shots. I did a short on that. You can check that out. I'll also do a longer length video or long form video about that. That would be bread and butter for Gervonta Tank Davis. If he could get to the body of Frank Martin, if he doesn't clean up the footwork, then I believe that's not something he will struggle with. Now that we've gotten to the end or close to the end of this video, one of the things that I wanted to point out of everyone that I highlighted here. So Michel Rivera, Jackson Morenas, Artem Hartunyan, and Romero Duno, all these guys, Duno, I got to double check them, but those other 3, they're all right-handed fighters. As you know, Gervonta Tank Davis is a fellow southpaw lefty, just like Frank Martin. So it's going to be incumbent upon him to figure out ways to get off to the angle on the opposite side to get that left hand off if he so chose to do so. His ability to move within the ring, his IQ is very high. I don't doubt that he has the ability to go on that opposite angle to create that leverage and then get the power off and get off on an angle. However, Gervonta Tank Davis is a guy with speed, power, footwork. He has a tremendous defensive variety. It's going to be a challenge to see if he can get this shot off. Now, what I would say for Frank Davis is this. Gervonta Tank Davis at times has a high level belief in his shin and his ability to counterpunch. He's a tremendous counterpuncher. I think if you play too many games with Frank Martin, it could spell trouble. You can get hit with something, and particularly an uppercut. Frank Martin has a great six, which is his back uppercut. So his left uppercut, my right uppercut. Tank Davis operating behind the high guard. He does have traditional boxing stance. He also is pretty defensively sound. People say his defense is trash, but his ability to get out of the way of shots and catch people in counter, I think more often than not, when people catch Tank, it's because he's being irresponsible defensively rather than being defensively deficient, i.e. Devin Haney's inability to get out of the way off his right-hand side. And that's not just Ryan Garcia. Jojo Diaz was able to get there. Obviously, Jorge Linares as well was able to find success off his right-hand side. So the left-hand side of the orthodox fighter. Anyway, interesting fight. We got to see what happens. Let me know what you guys think. This being one of the key weapons for Frank Martin. Fade, get back on that angle, land power, stay in a safe space because you're on the outside leverage position, so you're not going to get hit with anything, and then catching guys off guard. This is your boy JG. This is the Punch Report.